All right, what up, fam? Here we go. Quadratic factoring practice. We just want to go through it. So a couple of these questions, I'm going to be doing the quote-unquote in your head method. Other ones, I'll be doing the long method. Going to be showing my work best I can when appropriate. Here we go. We're factoring each problem completely. So number one, we got this m squared plus 8m plus 12. Our goal is, again, to turn it into something that looks like this, where we have an M in both spots. Is basically the reverse foiling. We're doing the reverse process of solving these equations, or not equations, these expressions. So here we go. And we're trying to figure out what multiplies to 12 and adds to 8. So this is the one we are multiplying to, and this is the one we are adding to. So that's going to say that, like, specifically, we want to add to 8. We want to multiply to 12. So the in your head method is just like trying to imagine which numbers could possibly do this. So for instance, the numbers that would add to 8, could be like 1 and 7. It could be -2 and +10. There's a whole lot of them, but the numbers that multiply to 12, there aren't as many. So 1 times 12, and it turns out that 2 times 6, if you think about it there, 2 times 6 both multiplies to 12 and adds to 8, and that's going to give us our final answer. And there's not much else to these questions. Now, sometimes you're not going to be able to do them in your head as quickly. And instead, you're going to be able to have to write all of them out. For the instance of this 40, you might not be able to figure out every single number right away that adds to 8 multiplies to 12. So if you're doing a little bit of a longer process, what we're going to do is we're going to write that -40 off to the side. And we're going to figure out all of the numbers that multiply to 40, starting with 1 multiplied by 40. After that, we're going to increase the value of this number here by 1. So it's going to become a 2. Either using a calculator or just knowing how to do it, 40 divided by 2 is going to give us 20. We're going to skip 3 because if we did 40 divided by 3, we would end up with a decimal. We don't want any decimals. This is like integers only. So 4 ends up being multiplied by 10. Keep on increasing. After 4 comes 5. 5 multiplied by 8 is 40. So again, you can do 40 divided by 5 gives you 8. However, it was -40. Because it was -40, that means one of these two, either all of these on the left or all of these on the right, must be negative. If we have a plus and then a minus, it turns out the smaller number is negative here. The bigger number is positive. You can check out our notes in class for when each situation happens. After that, we're going to do our adding. So I use arrows because we have multiplying here, so it doesn't actually, we can't say equals if it, if it says multiplying, but we're actually adding. So I'm just adding these up. -1 and 40 is 39, -2 and 20 is 18, -4 and 10 is 6, -5 and 8 is 3. And the point is here is we're trying to figure out which one of these is 6, and it turns out this guy right here matches with that 6 there. That means that these two are going to be our answer. X minus 4 multiplied by X plus 10. A lot of these questions are going to be exactly the same. I highly recommend for the rest of this front page, these first 8 questions, besides number 7, that you go and really try to do them on your own and you really attempt to make this happen for yourself. It'll make your life easier for the rest of this year and for whatever next math classes you end up taking. Problem number 3, the same idea. We're going to try to add up to this 15 and multiply to 50. This one might be easy enough for you to just do on your own because 5 times 10 will end up working out. So you get x plus 5 times x plus 10. These two numbers add to 15, but they multiply to 50. Boom. Number 4, yet again, I'm just randomly deciding which ones I'm doing off to the side. This one I'm going to do the longer way. 1 times 36, we got 2 times 18, we have 3 times 12, we got 4 times 9, 5 times 5 doesn't work, and we got 6 times 6. They're both positive, so these are both positive. That means that we're going to add up right away. No negative signs anywhere. So we got 37, 20, 15, 13, and 12. Boom, we found our match. N plus 4 times n plus 9. Easy peasy. Continuing on, there's a cute trick to know for all these questions. If everything's positive here, or if it's a negative then a positive, and this number here is smaller than this one by exactly 1, every time it's that number and 1. 10 and 1 will make 11. So that one's kind of an instant one, and that's actually going to work for a lot of the questions that are like this when they're only 1 apart. When these numbers are only 1 apart, same exact thing, we can immediately just jump to that answer. So we have a plus 2 multiplied by a minus 1, because the only thing that even multiplies to 2 is going to be 1 times 2, and we know that if this is a positive and that's a negative, the smaller number gets the negative, hence our -1 and our positive 2. Number 7 is a special situation. I went over this one in class, but just in case you were absent, I'm going to go over it again. If you already have the answer to this one, you can skip it. Fast forward a little bit. So on this one, we're doing this 24 off to the side. That's going to be 1 times 24. This is going to be 2 times 12, 3 times 8, 4 times 6. Nothing else works. Because this is a negative and a positive, that means that we have both of them are negative because it multiplies to a positive but adds to a negative. So when you add these up, you get -25, you get -14, you get -11, you get -10. Unfortunately, we have no matches. If you have no matches whatsoever, this -3 doesn't match with any of these. This is not factorable. So the word that we write for not factorable is the word prime. Prime means you cannot factor it any further, at least in this situation. It has a slightly different definition overall, but that's good enough to say you can't factor it further. Number 8 here, same ideas as before. What is multiplying up to this one, adding to that one? I'm just going to show that work one more time. Remember, we are adding to -2, and we are multiplying to -24. And if you think about it long enough, you might be able to just come up with -6 and 4 will end up working out, because -6 plus 4 is -2, -6 times 4, -24. So we can just jump right to the answer, a minus 6 times a plus 4. Boom, boom, boom. Easy peasy. Let's move on to the next page. Number 9. So number 9, this is actually another example of one that we did in class. Not very numbers multiply to 21, so 1 times 21, 2 doesn't work, 3 times 7, and that's actually the end of our list. They're both positives. This is very fast. Adds to 22, adds to 10. That's what we were hoping for. M plus 3 times m plus 7. Number 10. Number 10, doing all the work for it. Multiplying to 24 is 1 times 24, 2 times 12, 3 times 8, 4 times 6. Yet again, if this is a negative and this is a positive, that means that everything is negative all the time. And if you want to go over that set of notes with me ever, just let me know. We can talk about it one more time, how you can get that list, or how you can learn the logic to do it on your own every time. Either way, you found your match at that -4 and that -6. b minus 4 times b minus 6. This is your last chance of encouragement where I'm telling you, please try out numbers 11 and 12 on your own. It would be really, really nice. See if you can do them yourself, because now I'm going to go over them. So again, if this one is exactly 1 more than this guy, your answer is right away, that guy and 1. So x plus 8, x plus 1 right away. Easy peasy. There's our trick. This one, unfortunately, not the most obvious. You might have to remember there's a 1 in front, so you're trying to add up to -1. So 1 times 30, 2 times 15, 3 times 10, 4 doesn't work, 5 times 6. Negative and a negative means the bigger number gets the negative sign this time. Adds to -29, -13, -7, -1. There's our match. X plus 5 times x minus 6. Number 13 is a special case. It's called a monomial factoring. The idea is that there is no constant term out here, and because there's no constant term, we're just trying to figure out what can come out of both of these. In this case, there's just the letter A that is able to be pulled out of both. Specifically, A multiplied by a plus 6. The idea is if you were to redo our distributive property on this problem, you get back to the original question. So a times a is that a squared, a times 6 is the 6a, you're taking that a away. For number 14, same exact ideas as what we've been doing all day. This one multiplies to 32, adds to 12. That's going to be x plus 4 times x plus 8. Kind of a fast one for sure. Number 15 requires a little bit of extra effort. The reason why 15 requires a little bit of extra effort is because we have this number out in front. When we have a number out in front there, the first thing that we do is we see if we can do the same thing as 13, the binomial factoring, to see if we can pull out a single term from every single guy. In this one, we can pull out a 3. Specifically, 3p squared. If we were to divide by 3, we just have a p squared here. Divide by 3 here, you get negative 13p. And divide by 3 here, you'll end up with plus 42. So how do you know if you're able to do that? You just have to try. You can't know. You have to attempt it and see if you can. If you cannot, we're going to do that in the next page. Sorry, I got thirsty there. After that, we have to figure out what multiplies to 42 and adds to negative 13. So doing our work off to the side, 1 times 42, 2 times 21, 3 times 14, 4 doesn't work, 5 doesn't work, 6 times 7. And sure enough, 6 times 7, both negative, are going to be adding up to that negative 13, just like we were hoping. And they are all both negative if we were checking the negative and positive rule. So these are our answers right here. Do not forget the 3 in front. That 3 does need to be there to get the correct answer. There we go. All right, so this one, same exact concept. You double check to see that you're able to pull a 4 out of all of them. And if you do that, you get x squared minus 2x. And then that one is going to be 30 plus 35 when you divide by 4. And then what multiplies to 35 and adds to negative 2? 35 and certain ones like it, I always consider them to be the quote-unquote easy ones because there's not very many things that multiply to it. 35, the only things that multiply to 35 are 1 and 35 and 5 and 7. Nothing else works. So because of that, we kind of know it's 5 and 7 because they're 2 apart. So we have x plus 5, x minus 7. So that's kind of the faster way of doing that one. Again, you could have done all this stuff off to the side. Nothing wrong with that. But I encourage less work if possible for all situations. Let's move on to our last page. Both 17 and 18 are both what are called special cases. The idea is this is the difference of two squares. Anytime you have the difference of two squares, you simply write the square root of them both off to the side. Square root of a is a, square root of 36 is 6, because we can say, oh yeah, that's a squared there, we get 36. So it's going to be a minus 6 times a plus 6, and that is the entire question. Super fast on problems like that. If you're not understanding that one, again, I encourage you to come in later. This next one here, we also have a special trick. The idea is this one is 1 squared, this one is 6 squared, and this one right here is in fact 1 times 6 times 2, that 12 in the middle. Anytime that happens, we can combine our rules and we get p plus 6 squared. Please note, if you did all the work off to the side and got p plus 6 times p plus 6, there's nothing wrong with your answer. However, this one is the preferred way of writing it. This one still gets you full credit. This is preferred in the end. All right, number 19. This is where the questions unfortunately get a little bit more difficult, and we just got to be taking them step by step. There are 8 of them here, and we're going to go through every single one of them. Again, I encourage you to try on your own after you think you understand it. That way you get your own practice. So our first try is to divide a 3 into all of them. Unfortunately, 3 doesn't go into 37 at all. So this is going to be when we know we have to do something different. This is our factor by grouping. So to factor by grouping, we start by multiplying the ends, and we have 3 multiplied by 70, and that's going to give us 210. Now we need to figure out all the things that multiply to 210 with the goal of figuring out the ones that add to 37. You might be able to figure out the ones that add to 37 right away, and I encourage you to stop once you get there. So 1 times 210, we have 2 times 105, 3 multiplied by 70, Does 4 go into 210? No, it does not. Does 5? Yes, 5 does. 5 multiplied by 42. Does 6 go into 210? I think it does. 180 and 30, so 36. No, that doesn't work. 35. 6 times 35. There you go. Does 7 go into it? And this is where I'm going to say you can just stop if you notice, because these two right here, 30 and 7, add to that 37. Boom, we have found our two numbers because they add to 37. There's our match. So you could go further down this list, but there's no need to because you found your match. And learning when to just stop doing your work because you found your match is a great skill to have. So we have that 7 times 30, and that's what we're going to be splitting this 37 into, is the 7 and the 30. So the 3x squared is copied, plus 7x plus 30x plus 70. So again, that idea is this 37 is becoming these two, and you're copying the ends. Now we divide the question down the center. So dividing the question down the center, we're factoring by grouping. We're going to figure out what letter comes out of these two. Just an x. What number comes out of these two? And that's going to be a 10. If you struggle with that step of figuring out what number comes out, remember there are some steps on the calculator that you can go, and you can ask me and I will go over those with you. Don't have a calculator in front of me right now, so I can't quite do that. To write our final answer, what we just did there is we took the 3x plus 7, it comes out from both of them, and what's left over is an x and a 10, and that becomes an x plus 10. We're going to repeat this process for a lot of them. I'm going to go through it a little bit fast. If you ever want me to go over them more slowly, you're always allowed to ask me during class, after school hours, during tutoring, at lunch. Anytime you want me to go over these slower, you just got to tell me what works for you. You can also ask questions. And furthermore, last thing, I recommend you trying these on your own first. So here we go. 2 times negative 15 is going to be negative 30. What multiplies to negative 30 there? We got 1 times 30. We got 2 times 15. We got 3 times 10. 4 doesn't work. 5 times 6. We have two negatives, so the bigger number is negative. That's going to be negative 29. We got negative 13. We got negative 7. We can stop. We found our match. 3 and negative 10. 2k squared plus 3k. We're splitting it into these two, negative 10k minus 15. Divide down the center. K comes out, 2k plus 3. Always factor out a negative if you can. 10 and 15 there. We got a 5 coming out, and that's going to be, a 2k plus 3. The 2k plus 3 is matching on the outside, and what's left over is k minus 5. That's a 2, by the way. Keep the ball rolling. On to number 21. So on to 21, our very first step, 5 times 40 is 200. And then we're trying to figure out what number is multiplied at 200 but add to that negative 33. So they're both going to be negative. This is going to be quite a long one if we don't do it fast, but you might be able to figure it out kind of right away without doing the entire list and just jump to it. I always recommend it if you can. Like for instance, you might know, hey, 33, so it's got to be close to like 20. So 20 times 10 is 30. Oh, that's super duper close. 25 times 8 is going to be your answer there. So it turns out that this is going to be negative 8 times negative 25, and that's going to add up to that negative 33 that you want. So you don't have to write the whole list out if you can just figure it out in your head. Not a big deal if you can't, but it will save you some time not having to write every single one of those out. So then we got 5k squared minus the 8k minus 25k plus 40. Divide down the center, k comes out, 5k minus 8. Factor out a negative 5, and that's going to give us 5k minus 8 again, 5k minus 8, and then k minus 5. There we go. End of that one. Number 22, I'll show 100% work again for this one. 2 times 15 is 30. 1 times 30. 2 times 15, 3 times 10, 4 doesn't work, 5 times 6, this is positive, this is negative, that means both of these guys are negative. Adding them all up, this guy adds to negative 31, this guy adds to negative 17, this guy adds to negative 13, this guy adds to negative 11. Our match is right here. So we split these into two. 2n squared minus 3n minus 10n plus the 15. Divide down the center. N comes out of the first two. 2n minus 3. Out of the next two, minus 5 comes out. 2n, minus 15. 2n minus 3 yet again. And again, you're dividing there. We get 2n minus 3 times n minus 5. Kaboom, kaboom, kablam. Got to the end of the problem. Last couple problems. So these ones again get larger and larger on the numbers. I wonder if I'm going to start needing a calculator here. I might. 8 times 28, that's going to be 160, and 64 more is 224. So 8 times negative 28 is 224. Do I want to get myself a calculator? I might just do that. 2 times 112, does 3 work? 3 does not work. Does 4 work? 4 100% works. 4 times 56, 5 no, 6 no, so 8 does work. We already know 8 times 28, 9 no, 10 no, 11 no, 12. What a bummer. Maybe I do need a calculator. It's so sad. Does 3 actually work and I'm just silly? Is it not actually 224? I'm so embarrassed. 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Does 16 work? Yes. 16 times how many? 16 and 14? Did I skip 4? Did I skip 7 then? Does 7 work and I didn't know? 7 does work. What a sad times that I just missed it. How sad. I should know these things. What is it? 7 times 10, 11, 7 times 32. Oh, and that's the answer. Of course, it's the one I skipped. So I should have just gotten a calculator for myself instead of being so petulant. But what do you know? This is the one that ends up adding to negative 25, and that's going to be your the one you're looking for. So you can see that even I would struggle with a question like this. So don't be afraid of struggling with these. There's nothing wrong with that at all. And it's actually a healthy thing for you to see that these are not the easiest questions, but you still got to do them. So the m comes out here, 8m plus 7. Dividing both of these, looks like a 4 is the largest number that comes out of both of those. That's negative 4. And then you get 8m plus 7. Final answer, 8m plus 7. And what's left over is m minus 4. All right, continuing on to our next question, 6 and 56. I continue to be obnoxious, refusing to use that calculator. 6 times 56 is going to give us 336, and it's negative this time again. And yeah, 1 times, it's going to be all. So another thing you can think about too is when you have a number like 5 in between here, starting at 336 is just really a waste of time. You'd much rather start at a much smaller number, you know, that's much closer together. You know, maybe somewhere in the realm of like 12 would be a good place to start, just to see where it is. And you know what? Here's me giving up and getting a calculator because I don't feel like doing it. I actually got a little bit longer break. You guys wouldn't know because I hit pause on the video. Anyways, I got my camera up. Not my camera, my calculator. Rain has left the building. 336. We got that number by doing 6 times 56 there. Boom. And we're trying to figure out the numbers that multiply to this and add to negative 5 here. So if we're just going down the list, I'll show you how to make the entire list up just in case you need help doing that. Here's me doing it with a calculator. So divide by 2 for our very first number. We're going to get 2 times 168. Then we're going to go back to our 336, and we will instead divide by 2. Nope, we're dividing by 3, and that's going to give us that 112 right there. And then we're going to go maybe I'll hit times 3 just to be lazy. And then divide by 4, and we get 4 times 84. 5 is not going to work. 336 divided by 6, we already know because it's in the question. That's 6 times 56. And then we can check 7. 7 gives you 48. We can check 8. Gives you 42. And I guess what I was saying earlier is you don't have to do all these ones at the beginning because it's really not going to be this, because these are like really far apart, right? They have to subtract to 5, and we're not even really close to 5 right now. We're still like, 20, 34, 34 apart. So definitely going to be a much larger number, but hey, we're doing it. So 336, we're dividing by 9 now. That doesn't work, so we skip it. So 336 divided by 10 is not going to work. Dividing by 11, I doubt it. Divided by 12, that's going to give you 28. So if you notice when I was trying to say now, this was 34 apart, this is 16 apart, so we're getting closer there. 13, not going to work for us. And then we go to 14. 14 should work. 14 gives us 24, and we're getting closer and closer. Now we're only 10 apart instead of we want to get to 5 apart, though, is our goal. So we just got to keep on going. Let's do 336 divided by 16. And there we go. We are finally at our 5 apart here because that's our goal, is to get to that -5. So that means the bigger number is negative, smaller is positive, and that does give us the -5 that we were hoping for. And now we can get rid of this calculator, move this over here, actually do the problem. Here we go. So 6a squared plus 16, and then minus 21, 16a minus 21a minus 56. Divide this down the center. And this one's one of our first questions. We have to be a little bit careful. We can't just pull an a out because more than just an a comes. A 2a is able to come out of these guys. So we got a 2a, which is 3a plus 8. If you were confused where those 3 and a came from, just to let you know one more time, and I'm going to try to refocus my camera. Hopefully the rest of that was visible the whole time. I don't even know. The point is, though, is we got that 3 by doing 6 divided by 2. We got that 8 by doing 16 divided by 2. That's kind of where those came from, and they took one of the a's away. Continuing on, you can divide by -7, and you also get 3a plus 8. And our final answer, 3a plus 8 multiplied by 2a minus 7. So you can see these questions get quite long, and that's just how it is. You got to power through it. Here we go. Number 25. So number 25, this one's going to be nice and fast, and here's why it's fast. 4 times 4 right away is 16. And 16, 1 times 16 is the very first one, adds 17 right away. So we got 4r squared plus 1r plus 16r plus 4. Divide down the center, only an r comes out. 4r plus 1 plus 4 comes out of those two, and then 4r plus 1, and we got 4r plus 1 times r plus 4. Very nice. Good stuff. Number 26 now. Last question. Again, one that comes out to be nice and fast. 10 times -6 is -60. And then our very first guy, 1 times 60 with the negative on the 60 will add to that -59. So we're good right away. 10x squared plus 1x minus 60x minus 6. Factor out an x from the left two. 10x plus 1, factor out a -6 from the right two, 10x plus 1, and you get 10x plus 1 on the outside and x minus 6 there, and we are done with this guy. Hopefully it went well enough. If you need more help, you're always allowed to come by after school, and don't forget to subscribe to my Twitch. Peace out, guys.